Here we are looking to preview the trigonometric and inverse trigonometric functions that we need to know the derivative of for Calculus 1. So looking at the sine of x, the derivative of sine x is cosine x. Then next to it we have the derivative of cosine x. All co-functions have negative derivatives. So the derivative of sine was cosine, and the derivative of cosine is negative sine. The derivative of tangent is secant squared x. Cotangent, it's a cofunction. I know it's going to have a negative derivative. Tangent goes with secant squared. Cotangent goes with cosecant squared x. So we have negative cosecant squared x. Now we're going to take the derivative of secant. Derivative of secant x is secant x times tangent x. Whereas cosecant x, it's a cofunction, so it's going to have a negative derivative. It's going to be negative cosecant x, and cosecant goes with cotangent x. So calculus is like a study of patterns. You're going to see these trig functions are related, and there is patterns within trying to memorize these derivatives. So derivative of sine is cosine, cosine is negative sine, and so on. So we have some related functions when it comes to taking the derivative. Inverse trig functions are a little bit more complicated. I already have put in here the derivative of inverse secant and cosecant. Those don't come up as commonly, so I'm not as worried about them. I do want to know the derivative of inverse sine. Derivative of inverse sine is 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. And you'll see this in Calc 2, which is why I want to note it now. Derivative of inverse cosine, the only difference between sine and cosine is it's a cofunction, so it's going to have a negative 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. So we want to know the derivative of inverse sine. Once you know that, you pretty much know the derivative of inverse cosine, so that's nice. Similarly, with the inverse of tangent, we get 1 over x squared plus 1. And once you know the derivative of inverse tan, you do know the derivative of inverse cotan. Would be negative 1 over x squared plus 1. So there are the derivatives that we need to know for trig functions as well as inverse trig functions.